Next, we're going to go get the information for our product dimension. Now, the product dimension has information from just one database, which is the Zagi, small Zagi. However, the values are not all in one table, so we're going to have to write a join. So let's go ahead and bring in an input data source. And notice I left all kinds of trash here. You really should document. You can do that by highlighting one of the items, and if you come over here, you can actually change the information that is here, and you will find that the solution I gave you is much more better. It's much better documented. So once I change that, the information underneath changes. So let's specify our join. We will connect to MySQL, and we're going to go into Zagi small, and we are going to want the product table and the vendor table and the category table. Because we have the primary key, foreign key relationships already created, it actually creates the joins for us. So it's going to write the select statement for us that brings back all the fields that we need. And we want product ID. We're going to need product ID in our dimension for a little while, and you'll learn soon why. We want product name, we want product price. We don't want vendor ID or category ID, but rather we want vendor name and category name. Click OK. And notice it puts a bunch of stuff down here. It's a better practice to say, read information about product. And once I highlight something else, it should update. Okay, let's go ahead and now when I run, it's going to run all of this and this. So if I don't want that to happen, I might want to put these all in different workflows. Because I've got a delete here of the table, it's not a problem. Another thing I can do is I can highlight this input column and go up to settings, and I can hit refresh and it should read them. So it read my product ID, my product name, product price, vendor name, and category name. Next, I'm going to assign it a key. So under preparation, I've got the record ID, and I'm going to call this product key. And so it's going to incrementally assign a key to product. Now, I've kept product ID in there. I'm going to need it for when I create my fact table, because I'm going to have to do a sort of lookup. Finally, I can just write this out to my product dimension. There's nothing else that I need from anywhere else. So I'm going to output this. Again, I'm going to say to MySQL, and I'll call it dim product. I'm going to have to tell it what schema to write to. And I do that in the pre-statement, pre-create SQL statement. I'm going to paste it in here, but it's not that difficult to write. So in here, I'm going to paste my command. Use Zagi Data Warehouse. If it exists, drop the dimension called product. Let's go ahead and run that. And it's written one row for each product available, and it's joined the information from 3 different tables in our Zagi, small Zagi database. We can step over to SQL, hit a refresh, and let's see, did our product dimension show up? Sure enough, there's my product dimension. Now what I haven't done yet is put the primary key and the foreign key of these tables. We'll come back and do that for every single dimension in a minute. Let's go back to Alteryx and create our next dimension. Let's work with customer next. Now you may remember we need to combine data from a spreadsheet and Zagi small to get all of the information about the customer. So let's start with our spreadsheet, and You may have located it somewhere different than I have. Hopefully you dropped it somewhere very easy to find on your desktop. So I'm going to look for mine. And there it is, my customer demo CSV. And I can see here it's read it. One thing that Alteryx does a little funny is change the data types or reads them all one way. We'll clean that in a minute. The other place we have to go is to Zagi Data Warehouse, Zagi Small, to get the information on customer. So we're going to connect again to MySQL. So remember, we keep reading from OLTP databases, which are Zagi Retail and Zagi Small, and writing to our Zagi Data Warehouse. This is basically ETL, extract, transform, and load. So let's go to Zagi Small and find our customer table. And we essentially want all of it. We want the customer ID, customer name, and customer zip. Okay, now we want to join the information from these two sources of data about customers. That is exactly what happens in ETL in a data warehouse. The ETL process is reading data from multiple sources and then massaging it, combining it, munging it, you will, and creating it in a format that it can be written out to the data warehouse. So we'll go to the joins. We'll pull the join statement. This is the left side of the join. This is the right side of the join. Notice it keeps every single field, but first of all, it wants to know how to join. So we're going to say customer ID. We're fortunate in this case in that we have matching customer IDs. If we weren't that lucky, we may have to use something like fuzzy logic, which we talk in the next module, where we know the first and last name and we try to join on those specifics. Now, every field over here that is preceded by the word left means it came from the left side of the join, so it came from our demographics Excel spreadsheet, and these came from the right. Now we don't want customer ID twice, so we can get rid of one. So let's get rid of the one from Zagi, so we only have one customer ID. Notice that there's three outputs here. Remember left join, inner join, right joins? Well, Alteryx allows us to do that. We're interested in the inner join, so we're interested in what comes out of the center. But if we wanted to do a left join or a right join, we could do that as well without having to write SQL. If you don't remember this, I suggest you review the content from the previous module. Let's go ahead and fix the size of all our fields. So I'm going to use the select statement. So preparation. Notice these are broken up by the task, right? So these are preparation nodes, join nodes, parse nodes, transformation nodes, reporting, documentation, predictive grouping. We're going to mostly be around this preparation and join nodes and some transformation. Okay, so I wanted the select node. Bring it here. Remember, I want the inner join, so it's going to connect to the inner join. And I noticed that it made some of my fields really, really big. If I go back and look at my customer ID, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not that big. Does it need that many characters? Does it need 250? I'm going to change it to 7. And I'll make the rest of these 25. They don't need to be this big. Marital status, I believe is, let me go back and see what it looks like. Yeah, 25. It probably could be smaller than that, but we'll be conservative. Education level 25. We know that the credit score, I can scroll over, was 3 characters. It never changes from that. So we'll call it string 3. We don't think the name will be bigger than 25, and customer zip as string 5 is good. So if we run that, now all these attributes are going to be that size. So what are we missing? What haven't we done yet? Well, we haven't given it a unique identifier. So let's do that next. We'll call that customer key. And finally, we're going to write it out to our database. So we're going to write our customer dimension to our data warehouse. So we'll use the output node. We'll call it dim customer. Again, we want to tell it to use the right schema. I wanted to say MySQL here. Now I can tell it dim customer. I was looking for a file. So let's paste so over here in the pre-create statement, we're going to say use Zagi Data Warehouse so it knows where to write. And I'm also saying drop this table if it already exists, because I don't want to reuse it. I want it to be overwritten, and I don't want to get an error, so I say drop table if it exists, dim customer. Let's go ahead and run that. Here's what my dim customer is going to look like. I've got a customer key. Here's the ID. That's the ID from the original system. We're going to use it later on in the fact table creation. And all the data from the two files that we merged together.